It's easy to spend months and perhaps even years of writing a book, and then you finally publish it, and then nothing happens, no one buys the book. Today, we're going to be talking about the 10 reasons why someone might not be buying your book. Hello, everyone. My name is Mandy Lynn. I'm an author, book cover designer, and the creator of the Book Launch Planner series. And if you like weekly videos on the business of being an author, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon so you never miss a new upload. So there are plenty of reasons why someone may not buy your book, but today we are going to be narrowing it down into the 10 major reasons, and a lot of these things are preventable, so let's get to it. Number 1, they haven't heard of it. I know, super simple, right? The main reason why people don't buy your book is because they don't know it exists. Now, it's easy enough for me to say that all you have to do is market your book, but we all know, especially those of us who have at least one book published, it's not as simple as marketing. I mean, yes, we have to market our books, but there's so much to marketing books that I actually have an entire book series on it. So myself and Bethany Atzazeta, we are both independently published authors, and we have an entire book series called Marketing for Authors, and each book in the series covers a different aspect of book marketing. So if you want to learn more about book marketing, make sure to check that series out. But there's so many different types of marketing and ways you can make sure people have heard of your book. There's doing events, there's doing paid ads, there's doing newsletters, there's doing social media, and the list goes on. So if no one has heard of your book yet, make sure to ask yourself, how much marketing have you done? And if you are marketing, make sure you are absolutely marketing to the correct audience. Reason number 2, no one is buying your book is the genre. Now, this doesn't mean that maybe you have a bad genre. I don't think there's such thing as a bad genre, but sometimes if you are marketing your book, you may be marketing your book maybe in the slightly wrong genre. Like, one of the biggest things I see a lot of new authors especially doing is they like to mash up genres, like historical meets sci-fi, and they think it makes their book sound cool and unique, but in reality, it just makes their book really hard to market because people don't know what that is. So ask yourself, when you are marketing, is your genre clear? Is there too much genre overlap, like I just mentioned, or maybe you're not meeting genre expectations? For example, romance books have to have a happily ever after. So if you're marketing a book that you say is a romance, but it doesn't have a happily ever after, then it's not a romance, and you're just going to make your audience of readers a little upset, and you might not get some 5-star reviews, if you know what I'm talking about. Reason number 3 people aren't buying your book is organization. And when I mean organization, I kind of mean how the book is categorized / organized on the shelf. So in a bookstore, it means where the book is physically being put on the bookshelf, hence organization. But online, it's where the book is being categorized. So when you go shopping on Amazon, is it categorized under a romance, under a sci-fi, historical? You get the gist of things. Because ultimately, if your book is put on the wrong shelf, the right readers won't find it. So if you have a fantasy book, and fantasy readers will love the book, if it's put on a nonfiction bookshelf, that would be funny, no one's gonna find it, or the people that do find it are people who are looking for nonfiction, and they're not gonna be happy when they pick up a fantasy book. So make sure you're doing your proper research when it comes to categorizing your book. If you sell your book through Kindle Direct Publishing, I highly recommend checking out Publisher Rocket. This is a software that lets you do keyword and category research for your book, and that way you can properly categorize your book on Amazon. That way the proper readers will find it, and it allows you to do research to find categories where your book will rank well and sell well. If you want to learn more about Publisher Rocket, I actually have a tutorial video. I will leave it linked down below so you can watch it and check it out even more. Reason number 4, no one's buying your book is the book cover. First things first, does your book cover look professional? Because if the book cover itself doesn't look professional, then readers of the book will assume that the inside of the book won't be professional either. So make sure your book cover does a good job of representing the book, because let's face it, people do judge a book by its cover. I actually have 3 different courses on how to do book cover design. The first course is just on Photoshop. The second course is on typography and book cover design. And then the third course is photo manipulation in Photoshop to make a book cover. So if you've ever been interested in the DIY route of designing book covers, make sure to check out that course. I also have an entire playlist of book cover design here on YouTube. And if you aren't comfortable with designing your own book cover, make sure to absolutely hire a professional. Look at their portfolio, make sure you like the covers they've designed in the past, and make sure you do a lot of research when working with a cover designer and making sure that the cover you design matches the genre of the book. Reason number 5 no one's buying your book is the book reviews. And this could be 2 different things. You either don't have a lot of reviews for your book, or the reviews that you do have aren't the best. If your book has no reviews, or maybe has, like less than 10 reviews, then people are gonna see it on Amazon and be like, I don't know, if other people haven't read it yet, there's probably a reason. And they're going to dismiss your book before they ever give it a chance. And it could be a really great book, but because it doesn't have a lot of reviews, they just don't want to waste their time on it. They have other things to read. Or if your book has a ton of bad reviews, then let's face it, no one wants to read a book that has a lot of bad reviews for obvious reasons. If you need to build up book reviews, there's a bunch of different things that you can do. The best thing that you can do is to get reviews for your book before it's published. And I talk about how to do that in Plan a Profitable Book Launch. It's one of the books in the Marketing for Authors series, so highly recommend checking that out, because truly, I believe that the best thing you can do to get your book off to the right start is starting off with a bunch of reviews that are hopefully really good reviews as well. Reason number 6, no one's buying your book is the book blurb. So the book blurb is on the back of the book. It's also the description that's on online retailers, and it's just the couple of paragraphs that describe the book and sell people on the book and tell them why they should read it. I have a personal hatred of writing book blurbs, though I have gotten better about it over the years. But basically, you want your book blurb to be enticing. You need to give the reader enough information to let them know what the book will be about, but also not so much that they just don't feel the need to read the book. So you gotta get them hooked in with just enough information to get them to stop and purchase your book. One of the ways I like to describe book blurbs is comparing them to movie trailers. And just like there's bad book blurbs, I believe there's also bad movie trailers, because let's face it, how many times have you ever watched a movie trailer and they're just flashing scenes at you and you're like, wow, this is really cool, but then the trailer ends and you're like, what was it about? Like, what's the plot of the movie? I kind of feel like book blurbs can be the same way. You do not want someone to read your book blurb and you're just throwing cool words and scenes at them, and then they get to the end of the blurb and they're still like, what's it about? Like, what's the point? You gotta make sure you give them enough information so they leave wanting more, so they'll purchase your book. Reason number 7, no one's buying your book, is availability. And by this, I mean where you make your book available, whether it's online or in bookstores. Distribution is a huge conversation when it comes to self-publishing, and distribution can be in 2 different planes of thought. We have the physical distribution, like in bookstores or libraries, and then the digital distribution, which is online. Most indie authors focus on the online aspect of things because it's really hard for indie authors to get into bookstores and libraries. It's not impossible, it just requires a lot more work. But the online distribution is a whole nother world, because you can go exclusive to Amazon, or you can just publish your book on Barnes & Noble Press, or you could publish just your ebook on Amazon. There's a lot of different options. And typically for indie authors, the more places you are, the better, because you have more chances of people purchasing. So if you only sell your book on Barnes & Noble Press, that means that someone can only buy your book through Barnes & Noble. Whereas if you go through somewhere like Ingram Spark, that distributes your book a lot of different places. Then on the other hand, we have just having your ebook available through Kindle Unlimited, because if you make your book exclusive to Amazon, it is enrolled in the Kindle Unlimited program. And this is just for the ebook, by the way. You just enroll your ebook in in the Kindle Select program, and then your book is available on Kindle Unlimited. But obviously, the more I talk, the more it becomes clear that distribution as a self-published author has a lot of decisions that you have to make. But what I'm trying to say is, at the end of the day, if you really limit your distribution, you are also limiting who can buy your book. So it's just something to think about. There's definitely pros and cons to being exclusive to certain places, but there's also a lot of pros and cons to having as wide of a distribution as possible. Reason number 8, no one is buying your book, is that you don't have a sample of your book. What do I mean by this? A sample is just allowing readers to read the first couple of pages of your book for free to see if they like it or not. In physical bookstores, this is easy. Someone can just go, walk up to a book on a shelf, pick it up, leaf through the first couple pages and see if the writing style is something they would enjoy. And hopefully by just reading the first chapter, they're like, oh my God, I need to buy this book. Online, this gets a little harder. Obviously, people can't just pick up your book and start reading it, but KDP does have the option to have a look inside feature where they can actually go ahead and start reading the book online. So make sure you have that feature enabled when you are publishing your book. I definitely think it makes a difference in allowing people to decide whether or not they should buy the book. And another thing that you can do is that you can give out a sample of your book for free. So let's take the first chapter of your book, you put it into a PDF, and you make it so that whenever someone subscribes to your newsletter, people get that PDF for free and it is emailed to them. They can read it, and once they reach the end of that PDF, they're like, oh my God, I love this book. I need to finish the rest of it, and they purchase your book. If you guys would like a tutorial on how to do that, let me know in the comments down below. It's actually something that's really easy and simple to do and makes it an easy way to have a newsletter sign up incentive. Reason number 9, no one's buying your book, is it doesn't have professional editing. So let's say they read a sample of your book, whether it was online or they subscribed to your newsletter or they picked up the book in a bookstore. They read the first chapter and they spot a typo and then another typo and then another typo. It's not a good look. And they will probably rightfully assume that if there's a bunch of typos in the first chapter, there's going to be a bunch of typos throughout the rest of the book. And for most readers, that will probably annoy them and take them out of the story. So even if it was a good story, the editing of it makes them not like it. So that is why it's crucial to find a great editor who can help you polish your book. I know a lot of authors who think that they can self-edit their book and make it polished and clean, but at the end of the day, no matter how good of an editor you are for other people, you cannot edit your own work. There's just stuff you're gonna naturally miss. So even if you can't afford to hire an editor, make sure to send it to other people before you publish to see if they spot typos, and you can fix it that way. Reason number 10, and the last reason we'll talk about here why no one is purchasing your book, is the hook isn't good. Again, going off of the reading sample, let's say someone reads the first chapter. They get to the end of the first chapter and they're just not hooked. They don't feel the desire to buy the book so they can read chapter 2. That first chapter is so important to set the scene for the book and to also give the readers a feel for what your writing style is, and also leave them hanging a little bit so they want to keep reading. In fact, not only is the first chapter important, I also think the first sentence is important because, especially for those who browse at a bookstore, sometimes they only read the first sentence. So it can be very helpful to have a sort of shocking line as your first line of the book. And to just give you guys an example, I'll read you the first line in Meet Me at the Summit. Well, actually, I'm going to read you the first paragraph because it just makes more sense that way. When you sign up to work in retail, nobody warns you that you have to clean bathrooms. They also fail to include that sometimes those bathrooms may have the occasional vomit spew out because the TJ Maxx you work at is located next to a bar that is all too eager to get people a little more than tipsy. So I wrote that first paragraph that way to make it a little more enticing for the reader and to get them a little bit emotionally invested as well, because you can kind of imagine yourself as the main character Marley working at TJ Maxx and being like, yeah, that's a bad day at work. Anyways, those are my 10 reasons why no one is buying your book. If you have any additional reasons, make sure to share them in the comments down below. That way we can make sure that we are all, selling the most books as possible. Thank you all for watching. If you have any requests for future videos, let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I'll see you all in the next video.